Hey guys, it's Sarah. In today's video I'm going to be trying my best to dupe some new releases that I'm interested in with products that I already own. The first person I saw do a video like this was Kelly Gooch, and I just think these videos are so fun to watch because it really just challenges you to shop your stash and find new ways to use things you already own, and it also just curbs that desire to spend and purchase new makeup. Especially right now, I'm going to be doing this exercise a lot just for myself. Whenever I'm tempted by a new release, I'm always going to be checking the products in my collection to see what I have that's similar. And so today I wanted to highlight a few eyeshadow palettes and then also some blushes that I want to buy, but I'm not gonna. Or at least I'm gonna try not to. Also, these earrings, I've been getting a lot of questions about them. These are from Ana Luisa. I did actually a sponsored video with them one video ago, and if you want to check out the details of those, all the information will be linked down below. I have been wearing these earrings nonstop. You've probably seen them in like all my videos recently. But getting into the dupes, so there's a couple ColourPop palettes that are interesting me right now. I also asked you guys on Instagram probably a couple weeks ago at this point what were some new releases that you were eyeing, some new palettes and things like that, and a lot of them were the same ones that I'm into as well. ColourPop Making Mauves is going to be one of them. So I'm going to pop a comparison picture on the screen of what the actual swatches look like for this palette and what my own swatches look like with the shadows that I kind of duped it with. You'll see they're not exact dupes, but it's just a similar enough theme that it's definitely not necessary for me to buy this palette. But I love mauve eyeshadows. I love rosy eyeshadows. The palettes I already own that I feel like definitely fall under that same kind of category. One of them is actually the Balm Nude Dude palette, and none of these are the shadows that I used to actually dupe it with, but I do feel like this is definitely kind of a rosy mauve-y color story. Honestly, not really. There's only two like mauve-y colors in here, but for some reason I feel like that just makes the whole palette a mauve palette for me. Anyway, I do really like those shades. They're probably my favorite shades in the palette because I love mauves. So that is one to pull out if you're wanting some mauve-y, rosy inspiration. Another one is definitely the Norvina palette from Anastasia. I'm actually wearing this on my eyes today. I will have this look up very soon. But lots of mauves and roses in here. I feel like ColourPop though, their photos are so inconsistent and it's very hard to tell what the shadows are actually going to look like in real life, because you'll look at one swatch photo next to like a picture of the palette and then another picture of the palette, and it's like nothing actually seems to match up, and so they must just use different like editing settings or something. But it's very hard to tell on ColourPop's website and on their Instagram like what things are actually going to look like in real life. So who knows, I could be way off here. I also feel like this single shadow from e.l.f., this long-lasting lustrous eyeshadow in Soiree, which is actually in my project pan right now, it's also an all-time favorite, one of my favorite mauves. This one definitely reminds me of that middle shade in there very much. There's also some similar shades in the e.l.f. New Classics palette and the Modern Renaissance palette. All those are palettes that have mauves and rosy tones in them, and so I definitely don't feel like I need that ColourPop palette. I have so many mauves and rosy colors in my collection as it is, so it would be kind of silly to buy that palette, but it is gorgeous. I'm sure I would use it and love it, but I don't need it. Okay, so the next palette is actually kind of similar. It's the new Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk palette. A lot of you guys told me you were interested in this one. It looks gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. A lot of pinks and browns in this palette, which again, I already have many of those. I felt like a lot of the shades in the e.l.f. Nude Classics palette were similar, especially a lot of these light pinks. This mauve color, which actually also I think there was one like that in the ColourPop Making Mauves palette. Some of these kind of medium brown mattes also. So quite a few of the shades in that Charlotte Tilbury palette I felt like I could dupe with this one. And then that last like sort of bright pink shade, I didn't have anything quite like that, at least not that I think I have, but I don't think I have anything quite like that, unfortunately. But I feel like the shade Love Letter in the Modern Renaissance palette is at least similar, probably not quite as bright and pinky as that one, but it would be silly for me to buy a whole palette. What is this palette, like $70? I'm not sure exactly. $75. I'm not gonna buy a whole $75 palette for a few shades that I may not have an exact dupe for already. Most of these shades I do already have, but it is gorgeous. I like how it's laid out too, how it has like day, Desk, Date, and Dream. So another palette that looks really fun and really caught my eye is the new Sugarpill palettes. I've known about Sugarpill for a while, but nothing of theirs has ever really caught my attention. These new Capsule palettes, the way they're laid out is super eye-catching and just different. And so seeing that, I was immediately, of course, drawn to it because it looks very unique. Surprisingly, this was actually the easiest palette for me to dupe. You'll see in the side-by-side swatches, very, very similar. The one in particular that I was really drawn to was the Capsule 1, or the C1, the pink edition. These palettes are $42. Honestly, it's a really colorful palette, and as pretty as it looks and as fun as it looks, I think it would be silly for me to buy it because I don't wear these bright, colorful shadows that often, and I already have pretty much all of these colors in my collection. The only one I didn't really have was that like matte periwinkle shade, but what I did in my swatch was I mixed two different shadows. One of them was the ColourPop single in Howlin', and then I mixed it with a baby blue from the Elf Earth and Ocean palette, the shade Oasis, and together those two shades make a periwinkle. So that's the only one that I feel like was really unique to my collection. But all the others, I found quite a few dupes in the Profusion Spectrum palette, especially that lime green and the blue, and what else? The pink color. And honestly, those are shades I just don't reach for that often. If I do, I already have them. And then a few ColourPop singles there. And then also the shade Gold Rush from the Elf Earth and Ocean palette I thought looked really similar to that really bright yellowy gold in there. So I was actually amazed at how easy it was to dupe that palette with what I already own, especially considering it looks like the most unique one out of all of these, but since the shades are all so distinct, it made it kind of easy. So that was this was a really fun challenge. What I did was I just laid all of my palettes out in front of me on the floor and just kind of went to town. Like I would go shade by shade and just say, okay, which shade do I have that's similar to that one? Swatch it, and it was a lot of fun. It really made me excited about the palettes I already own. This next palette is, oh man, the Sigma Cor-de-Rosa palette. I saw Kelly Gooch use this in a recent Get Ready With Me, and oh boy did she make me want this palette. Wow. So pretty. And this was actually very hard to do. I don't think I have a lot of like exact dupes for all the shades, but I have similar shades, of course, as I always do. I mean, it just got really windy outside. Wow. I have 12 palettes, like 12 large palettes. By large, I mean like 9+ shades each. And even if I don't have an exact dupe for a shade, it's pretty likely that I can at least find a close enough dupe, or I mean similar alternative. I've never tried anything from Sigma, not even a brush. They're most known for their brushes. But their eyeshadow palettes are beautiful. This one and the Enchanted, Kelly has sold me on both of them. I want both. I'm gonna try not to buy either one. They're $49. This one I was able to dupe with a lot with shades from my Anastasia Soft Glam and Modern Renaissance palettes. A lot of kind of rosy shades in this palette too. So soft definitely made me think of Soft Glam and Modern Renaissance. There's one shade in here, that kind of middle matte pink shade. I don't think I have anything quite like that. There's a few shades in here where I feel like I don't have anything quite like it, but I don't know. This may stay on my wish list because honestly, I think of all the palettes I've talked about, I feel like it's more unique than those other rosy palettes. I could be wrong. If somebody wants to try to convince me the other way, go for it. But a lot of these shades, when you look at the swatches, they look very different from anything that I already have. So a couple of ColourPop singles also. There's like a greenish gold in there that reminds me a lot of Tea Garden. I just dug my fingernail into it. It's great. Good job, Sarah. But that one, and then also there's one that looks a lot like Glass Bowl, kind of that bluish red, although the one in the Sigma palette looks like it pulls a little more red. So anyway, just a few, but overall with those 4 palettes, I really don't feel like I need any of them. The one that I feel like is still calling to me the most is the Sigma palette, so I might just keep my eye on it, but we'll see. If I give it some time, I may end up not even being that interested in like a few weeks. So definitely not gonna jump on it, but it just became available. I'm gonna give that one some time. But man, it looks pretty. Just really pretty for spring and summer. There's just something about like the packaging and I don't know, just the whole shebang that really gets me. The last products that I wanted to try to find some similar dupes for in my collection were the new Persona blushes. I've been hearing so many good things about those blushes. They look gorgeous. I'm sure they are amazing. But the thing with blush is that they all kind of look the same on the cheeks. Now, there obviously are different undertones of blushes and different depths and all kinds of different blush colors you can own. But those two blushes, there's like a cooler mauve toned one and then there's a more peachy one. They both look like they have kind of a satin finish, which it looks beautiful. But if you already have a mauve blush and you already have a peachy blush, I guarantee you they're gonna look very, very similar on your cheeks. Because when you apply blush, you're applying like a sheared out layer of it and it's mixing with your skin tone anyway. So even if a blush looks super unique in the pan, on your cheeks, it's probably not gonna look that different from other blushes. So the two that I pulled out for the peachy blush, the one that I think looks similar, this is from Wet n Wild. Wet n Wild is no longer cruelty free, but I still have this and I still use it. This is the shade Rosé Champagne. This is a satiny peach blush. It looks very, very similar to that Persona blush. For that mauve blush, it looks like kind of a very mauve color. My CoverGirl Cheekers blush in Natural Twinkle looks very similar to that one as well. Neither of these, I'll go ahead and tell you, neither of these swatches very well, but that doesn't really matter to me with blushes. I feel like what's more telling is how it actually looks on your cheeks and how it applies with a brush. But on the cheeks, they're probably pretty similar. So any kind of mauve and peachy blushes that you own are probably going to be quite similar to those. Not to say that those Persona blushes don't look beautiful. I'm sure I would love them if I had them, but don't need to buy them. So I think those are all the products that I wanted to try to dupe in this video. These videos are so fun. I definitely want to start doing these more often. I haven't done one in a very long time. I think last year I did a few where I was duping like specific palettes and going really in depth, but it's kind of more fun when you talk about like multiple products. So I think I'm gonna keep doing these maybe every couple of months or so. So if you enjoyed this video, definitely give it a thumbs up so that I know you liked it. And other than that, I will talk to you very soon in my next video. Bye.